Hello and welcome to the Healing Insight podcast, episode 66, with me, Sarah Hunt.
And me, Jez Hunt.
Hello, everybody. It's lovely to be back with you. I wish I could say it was a really hot, sunny day as we are in flaming June now, but it isn't. It's cold. It was drizzling. It's definitely sweatshirt and tracky bottoms weather still. How's it up in Leicester?
Yeah, it's the same. I've got, as you can tell, I do have a fleece on, so it's not as warm as it had been at the weekend. It was a lovely weekend, though.
Apparently it's promising to be warmer from tomorrow, so let's hope so. I've asked someone I know that lives in Devon who's got lots of sun at the moment and warmth to send it up this way. And I'll send it on up the country because I need some sun for my vegetables that are growing. I'm really excited because my potatoes are coming through now.
Excellent.
And lettuce and courgettes and tomatoes have started sprouting from seeds, which I'm really pleased about as well. So
Nice.
yeah, my parsnips and my carrots and my broccoli are growing nicely as well.
Excellent.
I don't know how many meals we'll get out of them because my garden's only small, but it'll be nice to have some fresh veg out of my own garden this year.
Yeah, no, it's always a good thing. Yeah, I remember doing that with Robbie, actually getting the veg patch done, and he took that over a few years ago. He was doing that himself as well, doing potatoes and lettuces and cabbages and broccoli and all those sorts of things. So yeah,
Very good.
all
And I've
good.
got onions growing as well. They've started poking up through the ground. Woo!
Excellent.
Never thought I'd get excited over growing my own vegetables. Dad would be very proud.
I think he would. Absolutely. Bless him.
Dear, oh dear. So
Today.
today, I thought it might be quite interesting to explore doing the best we can
Okay.
and being the best that we can be, because I know I'm guilty of it, but a lot of us put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect when, whatever we do, we need to recognize that we're successful, that we're always doing the best we can, that we're utilizing the knowledge that we have. And as we connect with ourselves and allow our soul to guide us forwards rather than our ego, we will always be doing what's for our highest good and therefore doing the best that we can possibly do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I do feel that it's, there's a lot of us, me included, who get that nagging little voice that says, you could have done that better. Oh, you silly idiot, why have you done that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we forget sometimes that our mistakes are mistakes and that everything is a learning, and therefore if we take learning from it, we're always doing the best that we can.
Okay. So the first thing that I think is worth exploring, just for listeners as well, is so where does that come from? Where does that negativity build up from?
I feel it probably comes from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to please people. We want to get the pat on the back. We wanted to get the star at school to say that we've done well. We want to get the nice red ticks rather than the big red crosses, because pressure has been put on us to excel at everything. And in actual fact, all of us is really gifted, but we all have different gifts. And so we need to be honing in on those gifts to really develop them to our true potential, but also the things that we're not so good at to practice those as well, to develop them so that we're better at them. But it's perception, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to go a little bit further back than that. So you went quite quickly into school. I would, to me, what feels right to me, I think it is from childhood, absolutely. In that, to a degree, we want attention. So we're looking for attention. It's nice as a child. If you think of watching children interacting with parents from baby onwards, the only thing they know is mother or father or both, or maybe siblings if there are older siblings. So when we do something as a child that gets a smile or a laugh or a whatever from the parent, we do more of it because it's good. It's a good feeling. So we are focused on doing things to please our parents, which don't necessarily work in our favour. So we're doing things to please our parents. So we're looking for that praise because it feels good. Then when we do something wrong, in inverted commas, air quotes, then we get negative attention. And I mean, we maybe this is something we could discuss at some point, positive attention versus negative attention with children, because it's still attention. But what then can happen is our behaviour in terms of what we do in seeking approval and whether we get that or not is actually dictated by the beliefs and values and experiences of our parents. That's where the control starts to come in, because if our parents view what we're doing as, air quotes, bad or not good enough, then that is the message they give to us. And we're seeking approval from our parents. We're not getting approval because we're not doing well enough. So we then put pressure on ourselves to perform better to please our parents. That then, I believe, extends into schooling. And so we then start to please the teacher. We then start to, well, also with reports coming back to parents, we want to please our parents until such time as, in my case, I didn't care. Anyway, that's not something I'm encouraging, but that was my choice at that time, that it didn't bother me whether they liked it or not, whether I succeeded in the subject or not. The other thing I'd like to just pick up on it, yeah, absolutely, we have our own gifts, and those are actually what our life should be about. Working on, working with, tuning into the things that we excel at. You said about working on things that we're not so good at so that we improve in those areas. I'm in two minds about that. I think there are certain things that maybe basic maths, for example, if we're not very good at mathematics, then learning basics and pushing basics so we understand certain things can be helpful. Same with reading, writing, the 3 R's as they call them, reading, writing, arithmetic. So there are certain things that are, I believe, is worth pursuing to whatever level you feel right is right for you. I don't feel that someone being pushed into something they don't want to do and being forced to do it because society says, because school says, because parents say, I don't feel that that's the right thing to do.
No, I would agree with you on that, because actually that makes people miserable and puts them in a state where they might actually be really struggling with something, and something that it's not even pertinent to where their journey is and where their journey's heading.
If I look at my journey, where I am now, in terms of what I learned as a child or through any of my education, apart from learning to talk learning the English language to be able to communicate, being able to write. Yes, some mathematics as well, but I'm certainly not a maths genius by any means. I mean, our brothers are probably way ahead of me on
Mhm.
on the maths front.
Definitely.
But I know enough. Other than that, there's nothing. I mean, everything that I've done has led me to where I am now. So I'm not saying there wasn't any point to it, because it's part of my life journey and the lessons I needed to learn. But there's the majority of what I learned pre 10 years ago, 7 years ago, has no bearing on what I'm doing now at all. And there are certain things that I was forced to do at school that I've never used
Mm.
since I left school at 16.
Mm.
And yet, well, it's in the curriculum, you have to do it. Why? It's boring. I hate it. It's not relevant.
Mm.
So I know we've touched on education previously in various episodes, and I don't want this to become an education-based episode either. I believe that if you want to get the best out of people, then focus on what they enjoy doing and what they're good at.
Mm.
Because yes, you can whip someone into line, and you can make someone, within reason, you can make someone revise and revise and revise and revise and revise and revise and learn and learn and learn to achieve a certain standard. But as we've said before, who sets that standard?
But the thing is, that's learning with the head as
Yes.
well. Whereas we're heart-centered beings. We are supposed to be heart-centered beings, and we can learn from the heart, because the heart just absorbs what we need to know that is right for us, and it also helps us to understand what is truth. So I always say to my students, and some of them end up in their heads and they're trying to understand stuff, and I'm saying, no, don't do that. Feel it in your heart. Let your heart absorb the information. Feel whether it feels right for you. Is this your truth? Because everyone's truth is going to be slightly different depending on where they are on their journey, and that's okay. But also, depending on where your gifts lay, that the information that relates to your gifts that you've come with, you'll easily absorb. And
Mm-hmm.
so that will allow you to develop those gifts more easily.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Look,
Because you're doing what you love. And also, when you're connecting with your heart like that, there is universal knowledge within us that we can access just by going in and listening and allowing ourselves to let that information come through our intuition, through our heart center.
yeah. Look at children when they're playing, right? They can play for hours. They can, whether it's young children, they can play for. It doesn't matter whether it's toys, whether it's just in their imagination, running around the garden and talking to themselves, or whatever it is. They can play for hours. You try and get them to wash their hands before a meal. You try and get them to do their bedroom, tidy up their bedroom before bed. You try and get them to do things they don't want to do. There's resistance. It doesn't mean you can't get them to do it, but it's an uphill battle. Yet you say, okay, you can have another hour's play. Whoosh, they're off.
Yeah.
Because they're doing what their heart wants to do. They want to play. They want to just be creative, be in the moment.
Yeah.
So when, because I believe we can all do it, when we as adults learn to get back in the moment, we tune into what it is that, to use your phrase, that makes our hearts sing. Mm-hmm. We tune into the things that give us that excitement and passion. Like for me with painting, with my whole painting journey, I didn't even know it was there until I gave it a go. And now I love it. It's something that's part of me. It's something that, right, am I ever going to be a Picasso on a wall in a museum? I don't know. Maybe in the future someone will put a Jez Hunt on the wall of the Louvre or something. Who knows? That's not why I do it. But the point is, when, like with coaching for me, because I have an interest in helping people, because I have, because it's in my heart to do what I'm doing, then I'm doing the best I can at this and loving it and enjoying it and being in the moment.
Mm.
When I was doing business consultancy or when I was doing customer quality stuff in corporate, I could do it. And to a degree, I enjoyed certain elements of it, but it didn't make me sing. I wasn't happy. Not truly, not like I am now.
Mm.
So it's not, I think that part of our journey, or maybe our whole journey, is about going back to that in the now of childhood, which came so naturally before it was knocked out of us.
Mm.
Going back to that, because when you're in your heart center, when you're in the now, you know what's right. So, like you were saying it right at the beginning, you're doing the best you can in that moment because you're tuned in to what is right, what's part of your, your soul purpose, why you're here, what you're good at, what the things that you should be doing, rather than forcing yourself down a route and trying to fit into a box that someone else has said you have to fit in this box.
Mm. Yeah, I do feel it's going to be very important going forward, and that we need to be looking at our children and grandchildren and encouraging them to do what makes them feel happy. I've always said to my children, I don't mind what you do. You know, all I'm bothered about is that you are happy. You're happy with your life. You're happy with the work that you're doing. You're happy with everything that you're doing. And if you're not happy, then you need to stop and look
Mm.
and say, why am I not happy? What is it that I need to change that will make me happy again? What is it that I need to change that will allow me to move back into that space where I know that I'm doing the best that I can?
Yeah.
And I think that's important as well, that the understanding, and that's something that I've really had to get to grips with myself, because I've always put a lot of pressure on myself to in the past to, I wouldn't say I was a complete perfectionist, but I always had very high standards for myself. And that's not saying that high standards isn't a good thing, but it can put a lot of pressure on you so that you start to perceive things where you get outcomes that you weren't expecting as failure, when actually they might be the outcomes that you really need at that point in time for the learning that you need. And what I've really had to kind of get to grips with, that even when I get outcomes that aren't what I was expecting or wanting, I'm still doing the best I can in that moment.
Yeah.
And it's giving me a learning opportunity.
And if we take this a little bit cognitive, let's take it so we're in our heads for a moment. Then any decision we make, at any time is based on what? It's based on our values, our beliefs, our experiences, past experiences, possibly the influence of others as well, maybe.
Our perception as
Our
well.
perception. Okay. So any decision we make is based on those in that moment that we make the decision. So we cannot make a better decision in that moment. It can only be the best we can do because it's based on all the resources we have available to us in that moment.
Mm. Yeah, and it's something that I used to say to people, where they had issues with parents or some, maybe a colleague at work or whatever, and it's like, just remember that they're doing the best they can with the knowledge they have
Yeah.
at that moment in time. And by that knowledge, I mean beliefs,
Yeah.
values,
Yeah. Yeah.
experiences, etc., that has had some kind of influence on them.
So the
So,
point is that you cannot make a better decision than the one you make because in that moment, you believe it to be the right decision. Like you said, it doesn't mean that the outcome from that decision is going to be what you want. It doesn't mean that you're going to move forward in the way that you expect to or would like to, but it's the best decision you can make in that moment. Yes, a week later, a day later, an hour later, whenever, from the future, when you have more knowledge, more understanding, more experience, you could look back and say, I could have made a better decision. But that's based on what I know now, not what I knew then.
And
Hindsight is a wonderful thing and all that. So the reason we look back at things and say, oh, actually, that wasn't necessarily the best thing I could have done is only because we have a different understanding now than we had at the time to be able to make that decision in the first place. So where I'm going with this is that actually I believe that we are all doing the best we can. Unless we are intentionally going out of our way to hurt, damage, upset somebody else, then generally most people are trying to do the best they can for themselves and for others within the restrictions that we have of beliefs, limiting beliefs, value systems, experiences, and the knowledge that we have in that moment. So to me, this whole thing of doing the best we can is what we are all trying to achieve anyway. We're all trying to do the best we can. And I'll take out the word trying. We are doing the best we can in any given moment, because if we had other knowledge in that moment, we might make a different decision, but we don't have that knowledge. So how can we make a different decision?
But I think it's important to recognize that we're always doing the best we can, because the way that society has kind of worked, for want of a better word, is that other people put expectations on us that may make us feel that we could do better. I've not done well enough in this, when actually we've done the best we can at that moment in time. And so that can influence how we feel about ourselves.
Absolutely.
And what we're achieving. And yet it's others' expectations of us rather than what's right for us. And this is why it's so important to be in the heart center and be connecting with ourselves and feeling what feels right for us, because the only person that knows what's right for you is you.
Yeah. Just go back to exams. If you fail at geography, you're just not meeting the criteria that somebody else has set. But that doesn't mean you're a failure. And yet that can be taken on board and can cause a lot of, I'll use the word, damage to you and your life until you release that, if you've taken that on board as I'm not good enough. If I look at the coaching I'm doing and the problems that I'm helping people unravel from childhood and the beliefs that they've held on to that aren't serving them, and the same with energy healing and the things that, we do together, with people. And yet, if you allowed someone to, it's not about letting someone just do whatever they want, because we do have to interact with society and other people. And there are things that just aren't, that aren't appropriate. So going around and I fancy killing someone, I'm just going to go and do it. That's not appropriate in society. No. So there are, there have to be rules to a degree. But then allowing people to do what it is that makes them happy. So if someone wants to be a baker, let them be a baker. Don't force someone to be a baker who wants to be a butcher.
But also, if someone's not sure what they want to do, let them go out and
try things
and try things. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Just try something else. And I saw that with my son. And Gareth, he did care work, he did factory work, and then all of a sudden he said, Mum, I want to go back to college. I'm going to train as an electrician. And he loves it,
Yeah.
and his other passion is football. And he puts a lot of his spare time goes into that, but it's very much, he includes the family where he can with that. But I love to watch the passion that comes out in him when he's playing football or when he's taking his son to football. It's so lovely to see because that's him being in his heart. And I think that's so important for everyone is, and it doesn't matter if you've tried things and they just don't work for you. That's okay. Just feel within you what feels right.
Yeah.
What feels right for you? What is it that's going to make you happy? And also, skills are transferable as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people forget that. And they forget that they are transferable, and that means that they don't have to stay in the same area of work if they're not happy in that area of work. They can transfer those skills into something else that would actually make them much happier. Um, and I look back at my own journey, and I've had some big shifts and changes in my career, but I can see how each part of it has helped to get me where I am now. And I love what I do. I've had my moments with it, which which is all part of the journey. But like you, I love helping people. I just do it in a slightly different way to
Yeah.
you, and that's
Yeah.
okay because that's what my gift is. Um, but I couldn't imagine going back to any of the other types of jobs that I did when I was much younger. But equally, I can see how they helped me to get where I am. But I can also see that I wasn't truly happy in those jobs because although they were helping me develop skills for now, what I'm doing now is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's why I came to the planet at this time to
Mm-hmm.
do the work that I'm doing now. And there's lots of different aspects to it which keep it keep it interesting, but all the different aspects um make me happy. And I know that if I didn't do this and I tried to do something else, I'd be really unhappy. That makes sense. So, where am I going with this? I don't know. It's kind of just like we really need to tune into ourselves. We really need to listen to ourselves to see what makes us happy, so that we are always doing the best that we can possibly do by being our true selves, by doing what makes us really feel happy, by tuning into what our gifts are. Because if we've got, and we've all got different gifts, but when we work with those gifts fully, then we are we're in the moment properly. We're in our heart centers, and we're doing what makes us feel happy, which then has a ripple effect out on everybody around us. And if we're miserable, that has a ripple effect on everyone around us as well. So it's really important
Yeah. I mean,
doing what makes us happy, but also to recognize that we're doing the best we can. And I think, as a parent, I've always tried to help my children to understand that they're doing the best they can,
mm-hmm.
and that's okay. And we've had our moments where I might not have been as supportive as I could have been. But we've kind of come out the other side of those situations. And it's recognizing that success is not linked to other people's ideals and standards. Success is us being happy, us doing the things that make us happy, us working with the gifts that we came with, so that we evolve and develop and grow whilst we're here.
Mm. Absolutely.
So I think for me, the big thing that has really kind of hit home for me over the last probably 6 months in particular is that we're always doing the best we can.
Yeah.
Always. And when we're doing the best we can, we need to be kind to ourselves, especially if the outcome that we get is not the outcome that we expected, because that doesn't mean that we're not doing the best we can. It just means that we didn't get the outcome that we expected. And the outcome that we got was probably the outcome that was for our highest good, because there was something to learn from it.
Mm. Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's really important when that little voice in your ear tells you off, tells you that you're silly, or you're stupid, that you remember you're doing the best you can. You're doing the best you can in that moment. And that's all that's expected of us.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to finish this episode.
Well, hopefully that's given everybody something to think about. Yeah, doing the best we can.
Excellent.
Kind of changes your perception of yourself, doesn't it, when you can accept that we're doing the best we can.
Oh, absolutely. Having that realization a few years back has changed my whole perception and my whole perspective on life. It's when you realize it and embrace it and see it, it makes a massive difference. So hopefully many, 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 many more people will discover it for themselves.
Absolutely. So on that note, I think we'll leave it there.
Okie doke.
So thank you for listening, everybody. As usual, if you've got any questions, then do please contact us via our email addresses, which you'll find in the show notes below. And until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.